A lot of things have changed about Minecraft with recent updates, and so in this video I'll show you 20 important things to know if you just returned to playing Minecraft. Now you've probably heard about the Allay and its interesting item picking up abilities. However, with the most recent update, you can now duplicate the Allay. This is the only mob in the entire game that you can get more of this way. So if you right click on one of them, while music is playing and they're dancing to it, so for instance that one wasn't dancing but this one is, it will then instantly duplicate in two. This is the only mob in the entire game that you only need one of to split in two. And I'm hoping that in the future we'll get more mobs like this. Now there is a cooldown timer to this, so we can't just spam click on Allays to get hundreds of them. But before these were added, Allays were a really limited resource, and so it's nice to get these in an infinite way, with such easy things as a jukebox playing and some amethyst shards. Ocean ruins and shipwrecks can contain the buried treasure map. There is a way to predict where the buried treasure will generate every single time. So the first step is to make sure that your arrow is fully centered on that red X. Then what you want to do is press F3 plus G on your keyboard. That will show you chunk borders, and go to the northwest corner of the chunk. Then from here dig 10 blocks, so counting the block we're on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then from there, counting the block that we're on, we're going to go 10. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we'll dig down here. And every single time, we will directly hit into that buried treasure, getting all the loot. This trick does work on Bedrock Edition too. The problem is you can't have chunk borders on that version. The only difference between the Bedrock and Java version is that it is 9 blocks from the edge. So if this was Bedrock, we'd go to this northwest corner and we would go 9 blocks this way, and then counting the block we were on, we'd go 9 blocks the other way. And there are some ways of finding out where chunk borders are on Bedrock Edition, and just like never missing buried treasure with this trick, you can also make sure to never miss my Minecraft guides, tutorials, and facts by making sure to subscribe with notifications turned on. As very few people who watch my videos are subscribed, it would mean a lot to me. Now, copper is fairly common in the Minecraft world, but something you can do to use it much more efficiently, as well as other materials, is the stone cutter. If we make some copper blocks here in the crafting table, and then we use them in here again, we're turning 4 blocks of copper into 4 blocks of cut copper. So 1 block of copper into 1 block of cut copper, which does make sense. However, if we go over here to the stone cutter and put in our 3 blocks of copper, you can see one of these will turn into 4 cut copper, or 4 cut copper stairs, or 8 cut copper slabs, which means you can get 4 times the amount out of your copper if you use the stone cutter versus using the crafting table. But as well as that, you can also use the stone cutter to make much more efficient stairs, as the recipe here is 1 for 1, but the traditional stone recipe takes 6 blocks and only gives you 4 back. Iron golems in Minecraft are of course incredibly useful, not only defending the village, but also great for defending your own base from mobs and fighting during raids. Something you may have noticed is that the iron golem will crack when it gets more hurt. And a really great feature that was added to the game is the fact that you can heal iron golems. Now an iron golem usually takes 36 pieces of iron to build unless they're summoned in by villagers, but it's very cheap to fully heal an iron golem. So simply right click on them with an iron ingot and you can see it will slowly fill up its health there, also becoming less cracked. And now this golem has the health of a standard fully replenished golem. Just be aware if you did not create the golem yourself and you healed it, healing it will not stop it from becoming hostile towards you if you anger it or if villagers make it angry towards you. But still a really great tip, as it's about 8 times cheaper to heal an iron golem than it is to just summon in a new one. Now Minecraft does have a new best material, Netherite, and you probably know that, but there are a couple tricks to use to make mining it even faster. The first one is to dig a staircase down until you're at Y14. Now on my F3 screen it says I'm at Y14. Technically the most netherite generates around Y14-15 area, so we cover both of those, with this being Y14 and this being Y15. And it's actually somewhat efficient to just mine through here with a pickaxe. If you have an insta-mining pickaxe, that's technically faster than the bed mining method. And it's good to know if you want to use that bed mining method to dig forward as far as you can, place the bed far away as you can, explode that bed, and look around it for ancient debris. And you can see we just found a piece of this rare ore, which you will need 4 of to make one of your tools or pieces of armor into a netherite tool or piece of armor. Now you just finished creating a standard food farm farm, and you're pretty happy with it. But something you may not know that you can do to make this a much better design is to simply grab a slab, place it in the middle right here, and now you don't have to worry about bumping over your water source and by accidentally breaking crops. I found oftentimes if I have a very large amount of wheat or some other crop and I'm walking towards it, what can happen is I'll dip down into the water, and I found sometimes when I'm trying to jump out of the water I'll break a crop by accident. So just placing a slab here will make that much better, make your farm look a lot more seamless, and you can use any slab you want. As this is waterlogged, it's being counted as a full water source to make all these crops be hydrated. Now because piglins love gold so much, they'll of course not attack you if you're wearing a gold piece of armor. However, if you try opening up a chest of theirs, they will become hostile towards you. So how can you make this very dangerous behavior stop? Well, there's a couple tricks to stop this. The first one is to place a hopper underneath the chest that you're trying to get the items out of, and then simply remove the items from that hopper instead of removing them directly from the chest or breaking that chest. The second thing you can do though, which is rather interesting, is to take off that gold helmet. Before you do that, have a potion of invisibility, a splash one or one that you drink, and once you have that invisibility on, you can look in those chests and raid those chests without any issue of the piglins trying to attack you, as they can't see that you're there. Just beware if you happen to brush against them, they will certainly kill you, as then they can tell that you're there and that you've stolen from their chests. A very common but a seemingly useless item that generates a lot in Minecraft is the kelp, and you probably know that you can then smelt it to form dried kelp, which is an almost useless food source unless, let's say, you're on an abandoned island. However, there are some very good uses for this item, and that's because if you get a whole bunch of dried kelp, you can make kelp blocks. So first of all, you can craft them back into dried kelp, which is quite useful as you could have a very low quality, yet incredibly densely stored food source. You can also place them down to make sort of a tile or bound leaf floor. However, where the kelp blocks have a very practical use is the fact that they're actually a fuel item. Now of course kelp blocks as fuel are not the best fuel in the game, but they can smelt 20 items with one kelp block. And so technically having a stack of dried kelp blocks in your furnace would be almost 3 times as efficient as having 3 stacks of coal in there. Now bees in Minecraft are certainly an awesome feature of the game, but unfortunately it can be difficult to find them, and even if you do find them, you may by accidentally have killed them, or they might have flown off. So something you can always do if you're having some difficulty getting bees is to simply place down a whole bunch of flowers in your world, then next to those flowers put either oak or birch saplings. These can be separated or right next to each other, but you want to make sure that the flower is no more than 2 blocks away from the sapling. And once you've set a whole bunch of those up, you can either wait for these to grow naturally or you can bone meal them. And there is a 5% chance for a beehive to generate on the side of one of the trees when they first grow in, if they have this flower next to them. So because of that, not only can you have an infinitely renewable source of the bees' nests, but you can also farm these in bulk, as although that's only technically 1 in 20 trees, with the amount of trees that I often go through when I'm doing tree farming, that really isn't very much, and by simply throwing some flowers in your oak and birch tree farms, you could get yourself a bunch of extra beehives. There's a lot of new vine-like items in the game, and they definitely look quite cool and have some interesting uses, but they can also get very long and interrupt your builds. So all you have to do to stop that is right-click on the end of them with shears. You'll notice there's that snipping sound, and now that vine will not grow downwards any longer. And this does not just work with these cave vines that grow the glowberries, this also works with other types. So for instance, this works with kelp. We can snip the top there to make it not grow any longer. And actually, speaking of kelp, if you break just the top block of kelp and do not snip it, then it'll start growing fresh from there, so you can make kelp as long as you want by simply breaking the top bit of that, which can actually enable you to make incredibly tall patches of kelp very easily by just going through here and sort of pruning the top piece. But this trick also works with the hanging and the twisting vines in the nether. And if you just want to have a very small twisting vine plant as a decoration, you can simply place one down, right click on that with shears, and then you won't have to worry about getting a massive beanstalk like vine coming up out of the ground, making your build look ugly. Azalea bushes, known as Azalea and flowering Azalea, generate in the lush caves, but also if you bone meal moss blocks you'll get more of them from that. However, something that you need to know is that the azaleas are basically a type of strange sapling. Now of course if you place these down they are not going to randomly grow into a tree. However, if you bone meal them, they actually will. So if we go like this, bone meal it a few times, we will get ourselves an azalea tree featuring azalea leaves as well as flowering azalea leaves. Now this tree unfortunately does not have a unique wood type, although it does tend to bend towards one angle, and right beneath the one piece of oak that's the bottom part of the trunk, there is always a singular piece of rooted dirt, which makes it a good way of getting that rooted dirt item. And you get the exact same types of trees by bone mealing azaleas or flowering azaleas. So this is sort of like Minecraft's secret tree type. Now wool and sculk are sort of like enemies, it'll actually stop vibrations in their tracks. So if you're raiding an ancient city, if you have the ability to fully surround or almost fully surround a sculk sensor in the wool, any angle that it is covered from, it cannot pick up the signals from that direction. Making it even more useful though is stopping the signals from reaching the Shriekers. So if we fully surround the Shrieker and the wool blocks on every single side and on the top, then it cannot receive signals from those directions. But of course the problem would be the block on the bottom. What we can do is if we try and break and replace this at the exact same time, we can actually do something where we place down that wool block before the sensor can react and send a signal back to that Shrieker. Now that this Shrieker is fully covered in wool, we have the Shrieker protected from ever summoning in a warden. You may have raided ocean monuments before, but a really good thing to do if you're going to raid them again is to bring axolotls with you. You see, axolotls have a ferocious rivalry with the guardians, but as well as that, if you're fighting the guardians with the axolotls and you happen to kill the guardian for the axolotl, then the axolotl will give you the regeneration effect, making the axolotl the ultimate companion to bring with you if you're trying to defeat these dangerous guardians. And because of their regeneration effect, if they do get too hurt, they'll regenerate their health, which means that oftentimes your axolotls won't be harmed at all. And because the Elder Guardian can only target one mob at once, they can sometimes even overpower it all by themselves. Now bees in Minecraft at first glance can sometimes seem like a cute, but not incredibly functional mob. However, one of the products that they give you, which is the honey bottle, can actually be very useful. Now the honey bottle on its own simply refills some hunger, but something you may notice is that we're able to drink it right there with a full hunger bar. And that's because the honey bottle has similar effects to the milk bottle in the fact that the honey bottle can do one thing, and that is remove the poison effect. So if we drink the honey bottle, you can notice the poison is gone. The slowness effect from that witch is not gone, and that's because the honey bottle does not remove any other effects. Although that may seem kind of useless, what's actually really good about that is the fact that oftentimes you might have the poison effect, but you also might have a lot of really good status effects on you, like maybe a strength or regeneration potion that you do not want to lose. And so by using the honey bottle instead of the milk bucket, you can preserve those. Now I always like to think of lava as an unrenewable resource, however this is not true in the game anymore and hasn't been for quite a while, and that's because lava is now fully renewable, sort of like water is. So all you have to do to make this happen is place down some cauldrons. So you have this cauldron, then above the cauldron you want to have a piece of anything you want, just a solid block, and you want to have the dripstone beneath that, so the dripstone is pointing into the cauldrons there. Then simply surround the top here in glass or some other item that you want, and make sure every single block up here has a lava source in it. You may notice the particles coming down here are now red like lava, instead of being blue like water, and that's because this is slowly filling these cauldrons to be lava-filled cauldrons. And over time these will slowly fill up, as you can see them doing right here, and once they're filled you can simply empty them of that lava, and if you look above here you can see the lava still up there, making this be a truly infinite supply of lava, enabling you to get as much of this item as you want now. And considering that lava is basically the best fuel source in the game, this is really an ideal and easy farm to make in your world. Now Hoglins are the giant nether boar from the Crimson Forests, and although of course the Hoglins must love the Crimson Forests because they live there, they don't just dislike the warped forest variant, they're actually afraid of it. So if you have a warped fungus on the ground, the Hoglins will run towards you, and when they get close, they'll actually just start to run away, completely protecting you from them. So just having one warped fungus in your inventory will basically be better protection than having full netherite armor and swords if you're against tons and tons of hoglins. And you can even just place these mushrooms around periodically to have an entire zone where hoglins will never be in, because if they are, they'll run away. Somewhat similar to how cats will make creepers run away from them, you can now become the herder of the hoglins with the warped fungus. Moss blocks are one of my favorite things to build with in Minecraft, And of course you can craft these by breaking vines with shears, then combining those with the cobblestone in the crafting grid like this, and that recipe's okay. But to get mossy cobblestone, it makes a lot more sense to use, well, moss. And thankfully with the addition of moss in Minecraft 1.17, and of course made much easier to get in Minecraft 1.18, this is really your best choice overall, as not only can you literally insta-mine it with a stone hoe, of course a very easy thing to get your hands on, you can also grow it across almost every surface, getting tons and tons of these blocks for only a few pieces of bone meal. And as you can see, putting both of these into the crafting grid, I can get that amazing mossy cobblestone building block without the need of trying to build a complicated vine farm, but still getting the exact same block a much easier way. Now, something you may not know if you just got back into Minecraft is if you own the Windows 10 version of the game or you own the Java version of the game, then you get the other one for free. So let's say I bought Windows 10, I will now have a free Java account, and if I had Java, then I'll get a free Bedrock account. Unfortunately, this does not work on consoles or on Pocket Edition, but if you have been playing on Windows 10, you can now fully play Java for free and get that free account. Or if you're a long-term Java player but you want to just see what Bedrock's like, you may as well do that with your free Bedrock account through the Windows 10 version. The Phantom Mob may just seem like a nuisance inside of Minecraft, but they actually have some incredibly good uses to them, as you can make an incredibly overpowered potion with this item. So once you've made the awkward potion, put a single phantom membrane into the brewing stand, and you will get the potion of slow falling for only 1 minute and 30 seconds. Place a piece of redstone dust in here to increase the timer, and now you can see we get this all the way to 4 minutes. So if we drink one of these, what happens is if we jump off something, we will slowly glide down instead of falling, and slow falling is made incredibly funny with Elytra, because with the Elytra on, you can glide, but you're traveling very, very slowly, and so because of that, you can safely sort of hover above the ground, looking down at maybe different players or different mobs that you want to be kind of far away from. A joke that's been in the Minecraft community for a long time is that the hoe tool is the most useless in the game, and especially making better versions of it. So for instance, the standard use of just tilling ground into the farmland, but that has been changed in recent versions of the game, as the developers have decided over the past few updates to make the hoe definitely one that you should keep in your hotbar at all times, as it is the most efficient way to mine a lot of different items. So for instance, the wart blocks, hay bales, moss, sculk, as well as leaves and kelp blocks, and many more. There's a whole bunch of items now in the game that require the hoe to be mined efficiently, and especially with the new warped wart blocks and the sculk, the hoe is an incredibly useful tool to have when exploring the nether forests or when exploring the deep dark biome. So when you're planning your overpowered tool set, I would definitely suggest making a diamond hoe or a netherite hoe be part of that list. I have another video that has 20 more tips and tricks you might want to know if you just got back into the game, and I'll have that on the end screen. I hope you enjoyed this if you're a returning player or any player of Minecraft. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.